Alright lads, this is the 2011, so 2011 ratios. Right, it might be a bit shaky but should be alright. Once the shakes if the shakes stop, they won't. Right, anyway. Okay, so what we're doing this question is going to be the opening stock. We haven't done that one before. Gearing, haven't done that one. Earnings per share, we covered that yesterday. Dividend yield, covered that yesterday. And this last one covered yesterday. Okay, so I want to go through these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with you. Okay, that's the bulk of them covered then after that. Right, so the first one there, as we can see it, the opening stock, if the rate of stock turnover is 10 based on average stock, what I want to draw your attention to here is the opening stock. They could ask this to find the closing stock, so just be careful. You're going to calculate it the same way if they're looking for opening stock, if they're looking for closing stock. So here we'll be given the closing stock figure, but we're not given the opening stock figure. Okay, so that means we have to find the opening stock. Now, if it's a closing stock, they would give us the opening stock here, but they wouldn't have us the closing stock figure. Okay, no, so that's one thing that we have to calculate straight away. Okay, so the opening stock figure. Okay, how we do this is it's called the opening or closing stock, right? And how we do that is the formula is as follows. Okay, so don't forget we're looking for opening stock. And the formula is cost of sales over average stock. And in the question, it says that a rate of stock turnover is 10 based on average stock. So that's going to equals 10. Okay. Now we have our cost of sales figure, which is going to be cost of sales, 875,000, so 875. Okay, now we don't have our average stock figure. Okay, now the reason we have to calculate the average stock is because if I draw it down further below here, okay, because average stock also has another formula, okay, and that allows us to find the opening or closing stock figures. Okay, and this goes as equals, so average stock, so these are the two formulas you need, equals opening stock plus closing stock all over 2. Okay, so what we'll have here, when we find our average stock, we will be looking for the opening stock, we'll have the closing stock figure, so we can just do a linear equation, an algebra linear equation, just to work back and get it. So the first item we have to do here is calculate the average stock. Okay, so we have our cost of sales figure, which is 875,000 all over AS is just going to be average stock equals 10. Okay, now it goes without saying the basic the maths that's used in it, okay, just means that I always try to keep the AS on this side, equals 875,000 divided by 10. Okay, so I'm bringing that over here, dividing it by that number. Okay, so my average stock in this case is going to be 87,500 euros. That's my average stock. Now I can work away and bring that in down here. Okay, so I have my formula, written it in there. 87,500 euros is my average stock, equals. I don't have my opening stock, so I'm going to put a question mark there. Right, don't have it. Plus closing stock. Where's my closing stock figure? Taken straight from here, 80,400. All over 2. Now, if you remember first year maths algebra linear equations, if you do something to one part of the equation, you have to do the exact same to the other. I want to get rid of this item here. So this is division. What's the opposite of division? Multiplication, right? So if I multiply the 2 here, it cancels it out, but I also have to multiply the 2 here as well. Okay, so what happened there was on the right hand side I had a division and a multiplication, cancelled both of them out. Okay, which means I've left to multiply this side. Okay, so the 2 comes over here, 87,500 multiplied by 2 gives me a total of 175,000 equals question mark plus 80,400. Okay, now goes without saying, 175, bring that across the line, minus 80,400 equals question mark, which is opening stock. Okay, so 175 minus 80,400 gives me a total of 94,600 equals my opening stock. That's my opening stock figure. Any questions regarding the maths, I can redo it if you want, okay? So this is just first year maths, lads, basic linear equations, okay? Whatever I do to the bottom line here, I want to get rid of the 2, so I have to multiply it by 2, and then that cancels, that means I have to multiply this side by 2 as well, so I do that. That's that done, okay? Next one after that is going to be the gearing ratio. I haven't covered this one before, okay? So that's my opening stock figure, right? Standard enough. And next one after that is going to be gearing, okay? This is a nice and handy one. So the gearing ratio is as follows, just basically looks to see how the business is financed in comparison to its capital employed figure. Okay, so it's debt capital all over capital employed. So debt capital just looks at any debt or money we borrowed. So here you've got 240,000 euros, anything else, that's issued shares, that's fine. My other debt capital, so your debt capital is always going to be down here in the finance by section. So the only debt capital I have here is the loan and the preference shares. Okay, so the loan, so equals the loan of 240,000 plus the preference shares of 100 all over my capital employed, which you know is going to be 932,800 euros. And again, I want to multiply that by 100. So that gives me a total of 36.45%. Or if you want to use the gearing ratio, it's in comparison. So you just put 0.36 is to 1. Okay. So for every €1 they own, they've borrowed 36 cents in order to achieve that €1. That's basically what that formula means. Okay, next one after that is the earnings per ordinary share. That shouldn't be too hard now. So we did this one yesterday. Okay, so normally when we were doing the price earnings ratio yesterday, we had to calculate the EPS, the earnings per share. Okay. So earnings per share. So this is straightforward enough. All it is your where do we have it? Earnings per ordinary share. Okay, in a second, I just have to get it up there and I have to lose it. So, where did I put it? So it's net profit minus preference dividend. Net profit minus preference dividend all over number of ordinary shares. Number of ordinary shares. Okay, we don't need to multiply this by 100. Okay, net profit minus preference dividend. Right, go here. Where's our net profit? Okay, in this instance, our net profit is going to be 90. Our net profit is going to be 45,800 euros. Okay, so it's going to be 45,800. What's my preference dividend? Okay, how do I calculate it? It's just 100,000 multiplied by 5%. Okay, so preference dividend, if I do it down here, that's my preference dividend. So 45,800 minus 5,000 all over my number of ordinary shares, which in this case, as you can see here, number of ordinary shares, 550. So my earnings per share in this case is going to be 45,800 minus 5,000. Divided by 550. Okay. So it equals to 7.41. 7.4, okay, cent, obviously. Sorry, that has to be multiplied by 100, okay, obviously, because it goes without saying we need to get the money value, all right? If you want to round that up, it's just 7 cents. Right, that's the earnings per share. If I flick over to the next page then, after that we've got the dividend yield. Okay, so you definitely know how to do this one from yesterday, and you know how to do the last one, but in case you don't, I'll quickly go through it there because this is a very, very short video. Dividend yield. Again, as I stated yesterday, lads, you cannot calculate the dividend yield without calculating the dividend per share. Okay. So your dividend yield in this instance is going to be dividend per share. So dividend per share all over your market price multiply by 100, and again equals a percentage. Okay, it's a rate of percent that the shareholders are yielding from their investment. Okay, so dividend per share. So I have to go down and do this one first. Okay, per share. Now, the formula for your dividend per share is obviously going to be your ordinary dividend. So you did this yesterday, lads. All over your number of ordinary shares issued. Now, how do I calculate my ordinary dividend? It's my dividends paid minus my preference dividend. So, dividends paid, where do I get it? Over here, dividends paid, 30,000 euros. Okay, 30. Preference dividend, we just calculated it out literally 2 seconds ago. It's 5% of your preference shares, and that was 5,000 euros. Okay, so all that is 100,000 multiplied by 5%. Okay, so in this instance, it's going to be 30,000 minus 5,000 equals 25,000. So that's my ordinary dividend. Okay, slot this figure then back up here. So ordinary dividend, just putting this one over here. So it's 25,000 divided by what is it? Number of ordinary shares issued, 550. Equals, so my dividend per share is going to be 4.55 cents. Again, multiplied by 100, multiplied by 100. Okay, now once we have that, we can slot this back up into our dividend yield. All right, so go back up to the dividend yield. Dividend per share is going to be 4.55 all over your market price, which is given down here, 90 cents. Again, over 90, multiplied by 100, and that gives me a total of 5.05% for my for my dividend yield. Okay, so it's not too bad. That's the kind of bulk of it done then. Okay, and then the last one then is going to be how long would it take? One ordinary share to recoup its 2010 market based on present dividend payout rate. Okay, so we did that one yesterday, and I launched that one up on the on Teams free as well. Okay.